Hello crafters, this is Yana Smakula. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm sharing a modern Halloween card featuring some basic coloring using white and black pens. If you hear some meowing in the background, I do apologize. That's my cat. She wants some attention. Now this is one of my favorite types of stress-free coloring, and it's so easy, anyone can do it. I'm using a gorgeous Boo stamp from Pretty Pink Posh. It's from their latest August 2019 release. This stamp comes from the Pretty Pink Posh Boo stamp set. And aside from this image, there are also some Halloween icons in a nice size included, as well as a skinny strip sentiment that reads "Happy Halloween to you." I'll be using it to complete that card. It's not one of those scary Halloween sets, but definitely one that's on the cuter side. My idea is to heat emboss the Boo on purple cardstock, do some ink blending, and some coloring. I'm using my Mini Misty stamping tool to do the stamping today. You can, as always, stamp this using a clear block, but since it's a large stamp, to be on the safe side, I'm using my Mini Misty. I've treated the paper with anti-static powder tool. I inked up the stamp using embossing ink. I'm using ink from Tonic Studios today, and my ink pad is very fresh and juicy, so one impression is plenty here. I'm not double stamping this image. Next, I'm covering this with gold embossing powder. I chose to use gold as it's one of my favorite colors, but it can be substituted for other colors as well. Black or white would look fantastic here, and also one of those glow-in-the-dark embossing powders would simply knock it out of the park for this card design. Having heat set the powder with my heat tool, I'm ready to do some ink blending. For this, I'm using two colors of ink, a light and a dark purple. My ink of choice today is Hero Arts, and the colors are Orchid and Grape Juice. But any other inks can be used for this. You can use your Distress Oxide inks, or any other inks that you're accustomed to using for ink blending. The idea is to ink blend the edges of the panel to darken them while keeping the center portion of the panel light. This creates a glowing effect on the paper and instantly draws the eye of the viewer to the focal point of the card. You can also start with white cardstock. For example, if you don't have the correct shade of purple, you can start with white and then use even lighter purple color of ink for the center section of the card, and then a medium and a dark purple to do the ink blending. But that does take a lot more work and a lot more ink blending, and it's a lot harder on the wrist, all of that circular motion and all of that blending. So I like to skip or cheat a little bit by using colored cardstock as a base. This way I don't have to do as much ink blending for the panel. I've added a piece of low-tech tape to my fingers. It's added sticky side up, so it sticks to the fingers and it protects them from the ink as it's still wet. So it protects them from the ink while I blend the dark purple ink around the panel. Finally, for even more drama, I'm using a black ink pad and going just barely around the edges to make them appear black. As the ink dries, it will lighten up a little bit, of course, but overall, the dramatic effect on this panel will remain. Next, I'm going to use a white pen to color select sections of the Boo. Now, do note that I did set my panel aside to dry for a little bit. You don't want to color over the ink that is still wet, as it will sort of muddy up the pen, and as you color over the wet ink, you won't have a white colored image. You'll have sort of like a light pink muddy image. So be sure to let the ink dry before you start coloring. I'm using Sakura pen in size 8 and 10 to color today. I'm also again using the sticky tape to protect my fingers from the ink and also to protect the panel from any ink smudges that I might have on my fingers. Coloring with white pen on dark colors of cardstock is really one of my favorite ways to color. You cannot achieve this look using markers or pencils. You can only have the same look using paint. And with paint, it's not exactly easy to color such tiny spaces as these here, for example. So using a white pen is a fabulous alternative. And my favorite pen for this is from Sakura. Coloring with a pen, just like with any other medium, is a bit of a tedious task, but I personally do find it enjoyable, so I never mind. Here's a look at the panel with the white coloring. It looks really, really nice. I also have a black pen and I'm using it to add some black colored accents to the card. Basically, I ended up coloring every single icon, every single little dot using either a white or a black pen. Now, this pen is by Jane Davenport. It's a waterproof brush pen in color Black Lace. It's a matte pen. There's also a glossy version of this pen. And now it's a little bit different from the Sakura pen, as this one has a brush nib, not a bullet nib, but it works just as well for this type of small coloring. Here's a look at the finished panel. I love the added black coloring. It adds a nice pop of contrast to the card. Next, I'm going to white heat emboss a sentiment. This reads, "Happy Halloween to you." And I'm using detail white embossing powder from Hero Arts and embossing this on black cardstock strip. I turned my background panel to 4 inches wide by 5.5 inches long, and I'm foam mounting it on an A2 white card base. I also cut that heat embossed strip to make it a bit shorter, and also made little V shapes on the ends, and now using black foam adhesive to foam mount it on the card over the embossed and colored boo. Finally, I'm using Pretty Pink Posh jewels in Midnight to decorate the card, and I'm adhering them here and there, scattering them around the panel. I hope you enjoyed this video and you will give this idea a try. If you do, you know the drill. Share online and tag me. I love seeing what you guys are making. If you're new here, do subscribe and hit that bell icon to be notified about every new upload. On the screen, there are links to a few other videos you might enjoy on my channel. Love you guys. I'll see you next week. Bye.